Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talking, they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, baby.
Mixing it up tonight.
Yeah.
As Fred and Ryan are, I believe, on their way back.
They're probably in the air.
I think they're in the. I think they were in the air. I think they were saying they were going to get in the air.
They haven't talked to us in forever. They don't care about us.
They literally just shut their phones down and didn't pay attention to anything. Which good for them. It's a vacation. They needed it. They're on their way back from good old Florida, and I've been there, so I can't say much. But
Ditto.
Appreciate you guys joining us this evening as we got Drew in the big boy seat, literally and figuratively.
Literally everything.
And we got James over there on the producer desk. Say hey, James.
What's up, everybody?
James.
All right. So we got a good show for you guys. A lot going on today, especially for Ravens and Orioles. Not so much for the Terps. We're going to get into that as well. Starting off, the Ravens watch as their wide receiver hopes are kind of getting bashed. And, they also have a defensive lineman that's doing some bashing of his own.
Oh, he's gone under the radar. But if you haven't heard the story, we'll get to it.
The Terps, they won their first round matchup over UConn and then could not quite get it done against Crimson Tide.
They got steamrolled. It wasn't even, I don't think, no matter what they could have done.
It started looking good. It started good. But then, it just shot to bed. The Orioles making some announcements that are some major organizational upgrades today. Exciting pieces to that we're going to get into. But they're also preparing to slim down as we inch closer to opening day. And we're going to talk about opening day for the players. And we're going to talk about opening day for the fans because there's news has come out this week. Got my opening day tickets. So
no, that's good.
But we're going to get into some of the restrictions around the stadium. So stay tuned for that. And in this week's rundown, disclaimer first. This is going to be an interesting one, and it's not how this show operates. We'll just say it that way. We've got upsets, exposures, and drugs. And by exposures, you probably already know what I mean.
Yeah, forget our argument from a month ago.
Our argument?
Let's go. Keep going. Let's just keep going.
Before we get into the show, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor. Injured at work or in an auto accident, not sure who to call? 855-MD-CRASH are the Maryland personal injury attorneys that have your back. If you find yourself in that unfortunate situation, I know I have. Hopefully you haven't. Give our team at MD Crash a call right away. We know all the costs of medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering. It can all add up quickly and just compile and compact on you and potentially put you in a bad financial situation. If you want a team that's going to handle your case, big or small, or just give you peace of mind, save this number now. I don't know why I have to say it because Fred says it every week. 855-MD-CRASH. That's 855-632-7274. And be sure to follow them on Facebook as they do some giveaways to some of the different restaurants in the area. And maybe, just maybe, cross your fingers, tickets to some hometown games. All right, Drew. Let's jump straight into this thing. We're not going to quite start with all the news today, but we are going to start with news from this past week. Wide receivers, are kind of going off the board, and we're going to get into the Ravens' hopes being dashed and bashed. But tell us about some of the bashing that happened.
Yeah, speaking of bashing, if you haven't seen it, I guess it'd be second year backup defensive lineman Broderick Washington decided to go on a destructive path of craziness. If you've seen the mugshot, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what was involved because it looked like a psychopath. So he was arrested and charged in Arlington, Virginia, charged with a misdemeanor with destruction of property, felony destruction of property, and tampering with a vehicle. Allegedly, because that's how the court system works. Damaged 5 vehicles.
We're not going to say allegedly. 5 vehicles were damaged.
5 vehicles got damaged at his apartment complex. So if you
and there's rumors going, rumors like it's that some people are saying it was a baseball. I've only heard metal object, but I've heard some people saying metal baseball.
I've heard bat and I've heard metal like pipe. So I mean, it doesn't matter. It's an object that you can use as a bat.
Where are you getting a metal pipe though? Just laying around?
I don't know what kind of neighborhood that was.
I don't either. I guess so. Well, I mean, I think the thing here is right. That he was a 5th round pick out of Texas Tech last year,
and I mean, it looked like he was at least a decent project. Like that, it wasn't why drafted this guy?
He's not a starter. He wasn't a starter.
But you never know. I mean, nowadays, you look at like Brandon Williams with a 3rd round pick, and it was what we keep trying to remind people. Like he's one of these 5th round picks. Well, maybe in a year or two he could. Well, we'll see how this plays out, but he could be something. But right now, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
By the way, we got to watch our language. I think I saw George in there commenting that your kid said, "Hey, Daddy."
Hi, Kiki.
So make sure when you're thinking about this that you're keeping that in mind. This was a 5th round guy. He played in 8 games last year as a rookie. Had 2 tackles, right? So he wasn't giving that chance. I think that's to your point, right? He's a project guy.
And really, I think the only glaring problem he had in the limited time was that Tennessee game. He looked.
So I think here's the thing.
Off.
Here's the thing that I wanted to kind of get into this with you about for a minute is. Does this scare you all about our D line? And what I mean by that is we know we have huge holes right now at edge rusher, right? We know what we have kind of up the middle. We get Wolf back. You got B. Will and Calais, which we're going to talk about them in a little bit. You got you got Bowser that can bounce as that middle linebacker to an extent and play a little bit of edge. But this was another guy that just added depth to that front line. These guys are getting older. This is not a young defensive front.
Yeah, because I mean, like with age, I was thinking that like a few weeks ago. I'm like, is Brandon Williams or Calais a cap casualty because of their age and saving the money? But now, I mean, that might be. Let's
just jump straight into that, right? Because this week we hear that Calais and Brandon Williams actually take what seems to be they were saying renegotiated contract. It seems to be a straight out pay cut. And it's going to wind up saving about $3.5 million, right? So this is from Brian McFarland, who does at Ravens cap salary. His cap breakdowns he does really well. Williams replaces $7.5 million worth of salary / roster bonus and converted it to $1.5 million salary, $4.5 million bonus. That's a pay cut of $1.5 million, right? And then Calais converted a $10 million salary to a $2 million salary and a $6 million bonus. Overall, a $2 million pay cut.
It's still just amazing me what like these teams can do with just like rewording things in the contract and like save themselves $10 million.
Yes,
in a way,
but both deals are now fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
And no voidable years in either deal.
Yeah.
So the team is losing leverage later to gain leverage now.
Yeah.
Right. Which it makes sense.
You're in that window.
Yeah. That's kind of exactly what you want to see, what you want to have. So, kind of good to see there. Kind of staying with the line, and we talked about some, the lack of edge rushers and things like that. I kind of want to take a minute to get into the fact that, people are freaking out. Oh, we need edge rushers. We need edge rushers. And you brought up before the show that, like, I think it was you and James were kind of going back and forth that edge rushers, like last year especially, we saw a different trend that a lot of those guys actually weren't signing contracts until, early to midsummer. And
that had nothing to do with a cap deficit.
Right.
The cap was higher than it is this year, so it's going to be even more this year. I hold on to that because a lot of times you've seen them do stuff like they never make that big. We've said it before, but they never make those huge splashes in free agency. Usually, they're pretty much taking care of their own,
right?
And paying the guys they have in house or letting them walk and getting the comp picks. But they do find a lot of diamonds. I mean, like Woof.
Yeah.
Wolf didn't come in and on March 15th, March 20, like it was a late signing. Like sometimes they seem to find like those guys and get them to come in, and that's just, I think it's going to happen a lot with this year, even with teams that have a lot of cap, like a Colts or something.
You're looking for low value, high impact, not
Yeah.
low value, high reward, low risk, high reward. It's low value, high impact guys that you think, guys that are looking to make a leap, or guys that are looking to finish out their career and maybe make that one last run at a Super Bowl, that you can get on a value, that they see value in being on a team like this.
Apparently they're still in Florida because Kaylee said hello from Florida.
Oh, apparently they're still in Florida.
Maybe
it's next week they come back. I don't know. Kaylee, let us know when you come back.
They don't talk to us.
Jeez. Yeah, the guys who just turned off their phones apparently. But so what I kind of want to talk about is taking a second and recognizing, like, there's still a lot of previously impactful players. And I say previously because a few of them maybe weren't as impactful last year as we thought, but neither was Ngakoue, right? And that's kind of my point with this. You've got guys like Jadeveon Clowney, Melvin Ingram, Carlos Dunlap, Alden Smith, Justin Houston, Ryan Kerrigan, Everson Griffin, Kerry Hyder, and Adrian Claiborne that are all still on the market, right? And that's from Marcus Mosher on Twitter. He was kind of talking about that and saying there is a lot to go around, especially if you're looking for one or two rotational pieces. Some of these guys, you could very well get one or two of these guys at a similar cost to what you would have gotten a Judon or maybe even an Ngakoue, right? Ngakoue would be pushing it after the year that he had. But you could get two of these guys and have a rotational piece. And I think that's something that Fred had brought up a few weeks back, is the cap space and what's there. You can have some of these guys and you can afford for that. And now that you have this pay cut from the defensive, front and the defensive line in Calais and Brandon Williams, I think it opens up opportunities like this even more.
Yeah. Yeah, and think too, I hold on to it. You still have players here. I mean, Jalen Ferguson hasn't shown a lot yet, but he also had guys in front of him because
he's shown progress, but he hasn't had a chance. Exactly.
You think with Zadarius Smith moving out and going to Green Bay a couple years ago, it gave room for a guy like Bowser. So you still have the guys in house, and I think even adding two of these guys, I think even adding just one makes a difference, and you still have to see what they do in the draft. That's why a lot of these guys that we talk about, and that's what we're saying, where it come in like last year, it's probably going to happen where they get signed later during the summer. Right. Because after that draft, then teams know what they draft. I mean, obviously they know what they drafted, but they know what they have in their house to go and fill the cupboard some more.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and I think, who is it that just chimed in here that just said, Rick Garnett. So Rick says, I hate seeing all these other AFC teams loading up with talent, and here we are without edge rush, half-ass secondary, and no wide receiver. Shake my head. So here's the thing I'll say to that. I don't know where you're quite getting half-ass secondary.
Not a half-ass secondary.
This is not a half-ass secondary. If you think it's a half-ass secondary, maybe you should go back and watch some film and watch the coverage. Did they get burned at times? Yeah, I was first one to sit there and yell at Marcus Peters getting burned all the time with his risk versus reward. But they are still, even last year with the losses that they took and the additions that they had, they were still one of the top defenses in the league. Right? And this is under one of the most complex defensive schemes. And Wolf said it again just the other day. This is one of the most complex schemes that he has ever been a part of. But he even said if they open up a little bit more and they can get some edge and they can get that depth, he thinks that they can make another run at it being a top-tier defense. Right? Because he knows what that front line can do. He knows, as they call themselves, the Monstars, which I love that. Yeah. But yeah, he knows what they can do. As far as the secondary, like I said, you're out of your mind. You think that's the case. Peters can't tackle. Peters can't tackle because he's too risk reward. He can't tackle because he's behind the guy when he's trying to tackle him. It doesn't work. Simple as that. He doesn't square guys up very often. And it's all risk versus reward. But the other side to it is the wide receiver, right? And this is something that a lot of people have been clamoring for is that number one wide receiver. Yeah. And, we threw a bunch of names out there. Well, a bunch of names came off the list this week, right? So it starts with, Kenny Galladay. And he goes and signs with the Giants. What was interesting in this whole twist was there were rumors coming out, okay, yeah, it looks like he's going to sign with the Giants, right? But then Adam Schefter and Jeff Zrebeck actually, tweeted on top of that. Adam Schefter said, here's a twist to the free agent wide receivers. The Ravens have reached out to Kenny Galladay's agent, Todd France, to inquire about the former Lions wideout. And Jeff Zrebeck said the Ravens spoke with France earlier in the week as well. This was last week, but they weren't sure if the initial talks were of great significance. So the fact that they had a second conversation was interesting. So clearly they're having conversations with, some top tier wide receivers, right? Well, then news comes out. Well, Juju Smith signs with the Steelers. We had heard rumors that they were interested in him. But then after he signs with the Steelers, we hear reports from Taylor Bisciotti that sources told her he had an offer from KC for $8 million with $3 million incentives. The Steelers offer was $8 million, and he had the Baltimore offer for $9 million with $4 million incentives. So they gave him the highest offer, and he still turned it down. Do you have a problem with them offering it? Do you have a problem with him turning it down?
I had no problem with him offering it. I'm glad he turned it down.
So
both.
All right.
So
All
both.
right.
No, because it's a lot of things, and with him, it's a lot of it is the showman and the show off the field and all the dancing crap. I don't hold on to that too much. If you can come in and still be a player, it is what it is. Do all that stuff if it doesn't affect your play. But I also don't think he really fits.
No.
And not only that, and it goes to what we were thinking about with this being more of a run team. All right, you can look at him, and he gets 90 catches a year, 100 when AB was there, all that stuff. Well, you're not – at most, you might be getting 75 receptions, and it's all short yardage. I'd rather just have Duvernay take that role that we were talking about with Snead, the slot role. We already have that, and you're not paying $8 million for it, $9 million for it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is it becomes expensive. Go ahead, James.
I think Juju is I think he's betting on himself this year because he signed a 1-year deal with Pittsburgh. He's hoping that they don't have a run game, so they're going to throw the ball. So maybe it'll open up more money next year. Which if he came to Baltimore on a 1-year deal, he's not going to get a big contract. So I think he's betting on himself.
Yeah, I've seen that sentiment a lot too.
I think he's betting on himself.
I mean, I think he's betting on the team that has the least to expect from him, which is the Steelers.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying, they have no running backs.
We don't know what they have. They've got a lot of shit
But
they got to deal with.
We all know that
do.
Ben can throw the ball compared to
He can throw the ball 5 yards, yeah.
Ben, let's be real. Ben cannot throw the ball 60, 70 yards anymore. It's just not happening. He is not the downfield threat of a quarterback that he used to be. Can he still dink and dunk and get it over the middle? That's why Vance McDonald started, 2 years ago, started to look good and stepped it up right in the tight end situation there, really started to kind of come around because it started to work for them, which then opened up the little bit bigger routes that had wide open receivers down the middle, and those slot guys were able to shoot and go, right? He doesn't have that anymore. He can't do it anymore as far as I'm concerned. But, kind of coming back, right? So at this point, here's what we got left, right? As far as the top tier wide receivers that are still left on the market. You got T.Y. Hilton. You got Sammy Watkins, which we're going to talk about him in a second. You got AB, right? Those are the top guys that are still out there. And I know Nick Short's already been in the chat room. Nick, I saw it. I saw the AB talk like 20 minutes ago, and that was before the show even started. But when it comes down to it, they bring in Sammy Watkins today for a visit. He leaves without a contract. Some people are reading into that. Some people don't think it's a big deal. That it may just be him honoring going to Indy. So here's my deal with this. There's some ties, right? So you have Keith Williams, who's now the pass game specialist, right? He's been the personal wide receiver coach for Watkins.
Yeah.
So there's a tie there immediately.
Yeah.
Greg Roman worked with Watkins in Buffalo. Not exactly going to hang my hat on that. Okay. Not going to hang my hat on that.
Not at all.
Overall last year, 37 receptions, 420 yards through 9 starts in 10 total games. Okay. Here's the problem with Sammy Watkins. There's two parts to this problem. The first part is health. He has not played a full 16-game season since his rookie year. It's just you can't do that. And then when he was in KC, I think he had three seasons in KC that he didn't, and none of those years did he play more than 14 games.
Yeah.
Right? So he cannot stay on the field. He cannot be healthy. You know, it's just so frustrating with this, right? And the other part to this, and this is the part that I know that you're itching to kind of get into. Give us the comparison of him and Willie Snead.
It's exactly the same. And that okay. So he doesn't bring much to the table. It always seemed like it's hard. It sounds like it's a broken record, but you're never on the field. So even if when you are on the field, I just don't see the fit. At least a guy like Willie Snead found a fit. They're fine. He has, even though after the season he had his comments to say about the schemes and all that.
About the schemes, not about Lamar.
About the schemes, not about Lamar. He at least seemed like there was a rapport with Lamar because at least he would be present. He could play. You could see him on the field. You're not going to get that out of Watkins.
So I just want to kind of throw this out there, right? This was by Tony Lombardi, I'm sorry, from RSR, so Russell Street Report, put out there that he wasn't feeling the Sammy Watkins. And I understand that some people are going to argue, well, it was only 10 games. Okay? But take a listen to this. Watkins had 37 receptions, 421 yards, averaging 11.4, 2 TDs. Snead, 33 receptions. So, okay, 4 less receptions, but he had more yardage by 11 yards, 432. He averaged 13.1 yards per reception and had 3 TDs. Now, the other side, right, obviously I know that was only 10 and that was, 16 games that was there. But here's the deal. You paid Willie Snead $6 million and he was eligible for you to pass the ball to him for 16 games.
It wasn't for 16 games.
Maybe it was 15. Did he miss a game or two?
He missed because of COVID. So I know he at least missed 2 games for COVID. Granted, that's not injury or anything.
Still,
but I for some reason, and maybe someone out there I felt like he missed a game or two because of being hurt too.
Either way,
revisionist history in my mind. I don't know.
He either played the same amount or more games.
Same stats. The stats are
but the same stat line in the same amount of games or more. They paid Watkins $9 million last year, whereas Snead got us the same output in potentially the same amount of time, maybe more, for $3 million less at $6 million.
Yeah, that's something. I seeing those stats, I didn't see until since we talked about it. Yeah,
and that's the thing. It's like, look, I get it. We all want a number 1 wide receiver, but there's something. The whole piece with us cutting the money for Calais and cutting the money for B. Will. Something EDC's got something up his sleeve, and I don't know what it is yet, and I don't know what side of the ball it's on yet.
So I was already thinking about it. I know a couple of people brought it up in the chat room. You're talking about Juju.
Garnett said Snead was never hurt, so it was just the COVID. Okay. He was out for COVID then.
I figured I was having some kind of a business history or something. But I look at the numbers we're talking about. You're talking about Juju were offered 9. And you're talking about, well, let's just say maybe Sammy gets the same offer.
Right.
Okay. Now, those guys are free agents. But, well, why don't you take that same money we're going to offer these guys? And yes, you'd have to give up a draft pick. Why not kick those tires on bringing in Zach Ertz? Because his salary, I think, would come with like $8.5 million.
Yeah, I mean,
and then that would suffice what a lot of Ravens fans think, and not having that other tight end to fill the Hurst role. Now, granted, it might be a little bit not carbon copy, but
13 games on Snead, by the way.
See, I knew something.
Yeah,
it might not. Maybe it was all COVID.
Maybe it was. Yeah, but yeah, no. So it's one of those things. We have to look at it and say, you are going to get it. And somebody chimed in and said they think it's $5 million for the draft class that they're trying to wind up getting. You've already allocated your draft class money.
Yeah,
you have to have already allocated that. And so and if that's the case, then why are we going out and offering $9 million to Juju Smith-Schuster, right? When you could be taking that money and utilizing it elsewhere. So I think they've already allocated for that. It's already taken care of. I think this extra little bit is something. I think there's an enticement to either a trade, right? The Orlando Brown trade talks have died down. Maybe EDC pulls something out of his hat and he pulls out an even trade type thing where we just have to take on somebody's salary.
Yeah.
Who knows? It's just interesting because every time we see them do this with restructures, we almost within a week, we usually see some type of deal happen.
I want to reply to Garnett. Zach Ertz, this is the first year where he actually got hurt. And it was like a freak injury, and he still came back in the season.
Right.
I mean, it was a lost season for the Eagles. But I don't know. I don't understand that sometimes when a guy has a first year being hurt. It's not like we're talking about Sammy Watkins. There's a track record. Sammy Watkins was always hurt. Will Fuller, there was a track record. He was always hurt. Like, there's track records for guys. Ertz, that was 1 year of being hurt. Yes, it was last year, and that's, the close pass. But I'm just saying, if you're trying to offer a guy like Juju the same money that Ertz's contract would be coming in, I'd be much more comfortable bringing in Ertz.
I get what you're saying. I think to Garnett's point, though, there's upside with it. There's more upside to Juju than there is to Ertz. Ertz, yes, he's proven a lot, but we know he's at the latter half of his career. How much is he? He's got some left in the tank, but how much? What does he say? My bad. It always feels like he gets hurt.
No. I remember that Ertz is one of my guys. I'm a fantasy football guy. He's one of those guys I've always looked at, whether I've had him on my teams or not. He's the guys I've always looked at.
To wrap up this conversation regarding the wide receivers, right? And I don't want to get too far into draft talk, right?
Yeah.
Because we're going to save that for when Ryan and Fred get back. I think it's a nice, big, good conversation for all of us. But my question to you is, can this team handle depending on another rookie wide receiver from the draft? And if so, do they not have to immediately come in and play and at least be an impact number 2 style wide receiver?
My feeling and my answer would be, if you're talking about the guys that are projected to be in the first round, granted, you're not unless you're trained into the top 10 or whatever, you're not getting like Devontae Smith or Jamar Chase. But it comes to Bateman and Marshall. Those are the later wide receivers we expect to be there.
Right.
To me, if it's those guys, yes, because there's a pedigree and there's a track record from college. If you're telling me that you're going the route of and I like Duvernay, but if you're going a route and getting someone like later in the rounds,
somebody needs a little more growth opportunity.
I don't think that is the year to do that. I know the past for the Ravens wide receivers, it's you haven't drafted one. And I do get that. You can't ignore that. Right. But it's also Hollywood we've talked about him enough, but let's still see. He still gets a lot of touchdowns. It seemed like it was a reach or something. You had the pair. It's so many different variables of that not drafting a wide receiver that kind of gets glossed over a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying we don't draft one, but what I'm saying is we're in a win now mode. Do we all agree that?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And it's very, very clear to me that the Ravens and EDC are thinking that way as well. You're having conversations with guys who are considered number one, top 10 to 15 number one wide receivers, in the league, right? You're having those conversations. You have 2 veteran players that are big locker room guys in Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams that literally just took a pay cut because they said, you need us to restructure because we want to win now. Let's do it. Right?
Yeah.
You've got to do something. And I don't know that you can depend on a number unless you're trading up early to get that number that I don't know. I think both guys are projected to be in the top 10, right? Maybe 15.
Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase are projected to be in the top 10. And how am I drawing a blank on another player? There's another Alabama wide receiver. But then Bateman and Marshall are the ones that are kind of that later 15, back of the first. Right.
So the thing with that is if you're not going to trade up in there and you're not going to get these guys that, yes, these guys could come in and be a number 2, but again, you're dealing with already issues in this wide receiver room as it is, right? The last thing you need is a guy to come in and not have somebody that can back him and help him boost his confidence.
Yeah.
It's a different game. It's a different speed. Hollywood, Boykin, they're still getting used to game speed with this.
Yeah.
Duvernay and Prochet, they barely have gotten enough game speed in, right, to be able to know and talk to it. So for me, it makes sense to bring in somebody, and I think I don't know who it is yet. I don't know who
I was
it
going to
is
say,
yet.
that was being my reply to you. You keep talking about the extra money, but then at this point,
I think this is a situation. I truly think, Fred said it before. It's going to come out of nowhere, and none of us are going to expect it. And it's going to be some low-cost deal for a previous top-tier wide receiver, right? Like we did with Bolden, like we did with Smith. Right, and the Smith and the grittiness to him, the Bolden to go up and get an attitude. There's got to be somebody out there that we are not thinking of, or is that not on our radar, or we've said, we're not interested. That's willing to come in and do it because they see something with this team. There's got to be.
I don't have an answer to you.
I don't have an answer. You know what I mean?
I want to think about it now that you've given me the.
But at the same time, I also don't put it past EDC to make a move with a trade.
Yeah.
Just because, I'll say it this way, just because a guy signs with a team means nothing.
Just because a guy signs his franchise tag means nothing. Now, obviously, I'm talking about Allen Robinson. He signed his tag. It actually really surprised me to even sign the tag. I would have. He's been disgruntled enough. I would have thought that would have dragged a little bit, but it didn't. I mean, that'd be with your question posed. That'd be the only splash that I foresee. Like, all right, that's where some of this other money.
It'd be the one that felt like it was out of nowhere.
Yeah,
but I don't. Do you see what I'm saying though? Like, I don't put it past this franchise. We have done it in the past, and we've done it during some competitive runs.
Yeah.
Right, where we've gone, Bolden. It was a competitive run. We knew we were in that. We were in the playoffs. We needed that one thing to get us over the edge. Some people argue that was Bolden. I think some people are right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I mean, he showed up every single game in the playoffs.
And then the runs that they had, kind of towards the latter portion of Steve Smith. We were still in the playoffs, right? Yeah. Yes, he didn't get a Super Bowl,
but he was still a big focal point.
He was a big focal point, and he was a major impact player on this team, right? There's got EDC. There's a proven track record with EDC and Ozzie.
Yeah.
Right? And I know that people can say, "Oh, it's all Ozzie." EDC
He's
was
been
a part
around
of it.
for a long time.
EDC was a part of it, and you can't tell me that he's not going, "Hey, Ozzie, what do you think about this?"
I still always think that Lamar was like his pick. I still feel like for EDC.
For
I
EDC
still say,
yeah, it may have well.
I think him and Ozzie had a lot of conversations that offseason. Then it came time like, Ozzie, you think we can do it? Yeah, we could do it. Let's do it.
If you want to do it, it's on you.
I really think that's what it was his pick.
It very well could be. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think there's some flexibility that with the cap that we have now, especially with Brandon Williams and Calais getting cut. Something's just brewing. That's kind of what I wanted to get into and get down to.
It feels that way.
Is things are brewing here, and it's we don't see these restructures like this, especially a straight cut like this, unless they have a plan. I would venture to say within a week we see some type of move on EDC that they're going to utilize that at now $3.5 million.
Yeah.
That's going to get utilized somewhere, whether it's bringing somebody in at $3.5 million or whether it goes to get somebody. Give us the cap space to get somebody that we can afford.
Yeah, it ain't going to hold on. You're not holding on to it.
No, so obviously the other thing that happens today, Ravens sign safety Geno Stone. If you remember that name, it's because he was drafted last year. Yeah, drafted last year, signed him to 4 years, 3.4 on his rookie contract, 7th rounder. And then we put him on the practice squad. And he was up and down. Then he went on IR/COVID. And then we placed him on waivers where the Texans claimed him for the last, 3 games or something like that, 4 games.
I had totally forgotten about that. I really did.
There's no details that I've seen yet. If somebody knows out there or seen it, let me know. No details on the cap hit. I'm assuming this is low. Possibly, I think this is a league minimum. type deal.
Yeah, probably.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
You release the guy, he didn't prove enough to you. He goes texting. Nobody else is throwing the book at him, right?
Yeah, it'd have to be something where, you can make a 1.2 million if you play 14 games.
Right,
or
yeah.
something like that.
It's at least a minimum contract with like a
It'd be interesting to see
$500,000
because
incentive.
he showed. I mean, he looked like he could be one of those steals, but I just think he never.
I don't know if he got the playing time.
He didn't have the spot.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the COVID year, and it looks like things are going to be changing this year. It looks like we're getting, you're getting the draft this year. You're going to be able to have in your war rooms and be like in your team facilities
you got pro days going on right now.
Yeah, you're going to have a more of an off season that you're used to that you obviously didn't have this year. Where a guy like that sees preseason games, and you go, you know what? Yeah. You don't need to preseason practice while we're finding a spot or there's an injury, like something happened to one of the other safeties and he gets a spot. That's cool that they brought him back. I think just to see what happens.
I think they're, and it's low impact to them, right?
Really,
they 4 years, 3.4 last year, you wind up cutting him. He doesn't get his full contract there. Now if you're looking at him, even if it's a mill deal. I'm kind of like hesitant because you offered him 3.4 at 4 years, so it's it just doesn't work out. I think it's a league minimum, prove it type deal. If you can't show you got your stuff together, I don't know what it was. Maybe he couldn't understand the playbook.
Yeah.
I know some people have chimed in. Joshua says Stone is a baller. Look, he absolutely could when he was in college. He played well, right? He was a ball hawking type safety at times, but. I think something just didn't. Something happened. It couldn't translate over to the NFL. I don't know the details. I just feel like that's the case. And so for them to bring him back, it provides you depth. And hey, worst case scenario, this guy's got enough speed to potentially help you out at cornerback at depth, and it just depth in the secondary period.
Yeah.
Right. So low cost, good value, good depth piece. We've been talking about the draft, and. Did you see that they released the draft picks for this year?
Yeah, that was, if you guys haven't seen it, they did release the draft picks. Ravens currently have 7 picks. We say currently because you know what they do on draft day.
I mean, we could also pick up some more in between now and then.
More. So they'll have the 27th overall pick in the first. Their second round pick is the 58th. Their third is 104. It's the comp for David Culley going and being the head coach in Houston. Yep. They have the 131st in the fourth round. They have 171 and 184 in the fifth. That second pick being a comp pick for Michael Pierce leaving, and that's a steal because he didn't even play last year.
Right, exactly.
And then their 6th round pick, which is 210 overall.
Yeah, it's just 7 picks. I think there's a lot of speculation. Obviously, where they're going to go with a lot of this. It's really going to come down to who the hell's available.
Yeah,
and what you're planning to do between now and then, right? Because if you can't make a splash with wide receiver in free agency, or through a trade, then I think you have to pick up. You've got to look at moving up and getting yourself in a position, and that very well could be putting yourself in a trade up to an 18th. First round 18th pick or something like that, 15th pick. Is
this the kind of what's your opinion on like a proper amount of picks for like our team? Like is 7 like if they made no trades, like is 7 these picks, if that was their picks, is that acceptable to you? Like what my point being with you trading up, you're not gonna like just trade the 27th for the 13th. Like you're gonna have to give up a couple picks. So if you do that, would you be upset if they only had 4 picks in this draft, something like that? It's a weird question. Yeah, it's a loaded question.
So here's the deal: if I'm trading up, no, I'll get rid of 1 for this year and 1 for next year.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm only losing 1 and puts me at 6. Ideally, I mean the whole idea, the original idea behind the draft was each team, right, getting 1 pick per round, right? Yeah. That's kind of the theory. So we get 7, we're covered. If we can get more, great. Like we made some good deals, some good back end deals. What I would be more comfortable with rather than trading up would be losing 2 picks in a solid trade.
Yeah.
Right? If it meant a first and third, even a first and a second for an Allen Robinson that can be an impact tomorrow, I'm seriously contemplating it.
Well, do you think a first and a third would do it for Chicago? If
It's
that's
Chicago, they've accepted less for more.
yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, you might be able to wink one over on Chicago, so that's why I'm like hoping. But no, it's tough. It's tough to say. I think I would be comfortable. We have to have a minimum of 5 because we can't go all in on the now and completely forget about our future. And you're going to have contracts coming up, so you're going to have guys that you're not going to be able to fulfill their contracts. You've got to have the depth coming in behind them.
Yeah.
So you can't throw everything away here. I'm okay with 5 or more. If we gave away less than 5, I'd be pissed. Like I'd be.
Well, I think in this case, I mean, if they were making a trade up for something, then I would see it being the 27th pick and then something next year.
Yeah, you got to be able to leverage next year's.
Because I wouldn't see them. Yeah, they wouldn't just screw up this year's draft, leveraging for next year or for beyond.
Yeah. So Jamal chimes in and said, "COVID year, the Ravens' defense is one of the most difficult to learn. Only if we feel we're a number 1 receiver away from a Super Bowl. So he wouldn't want to trade up. And look, I hear you. The problem is yes, I understand that last year was a COVID year, but this year we all agree. We are all in agreement. And if you're not, I'd love to hear an argument that you think that this is not, we're not closing in on a window here, right? I think we've all said that. There is a window. Do we want to win every year? Do we want to be competitive? Yeah. But there's a window to do this with the guys that we already have and the guys that are on your roster that aren't costing you $1 million. I shouldn't say $1 million. They aren't costing you, $500 million, right?
Yeah.
They're not costing you a Pat Mahomes deal, right? And so that's what I think it comes down to is you got to look at that and you got to say the window with the guys that we have. There's a high likelihood that at least 1, if not 2 guys that's currently active on the roster will not be here in 2 years, right? So with that being said, you have to make moves now that put you in a position to be competitive now. I know we want to be competitive every year, but now or next year is kind of our window before we have to start doling out. And who knows what the cap space is going to look like 2 years from now.
Should be way up there.
You hope it. You hope it is, but it didn't do it. It didn't. It went down after this year with all the TV contracts that got freaking paid.
Yeah.
Right? All the TV contracts came in and none of that money seems to be going back.
I think that was more lost revenue on top of that. It kind of canceled each other out.
Yeah, but that's lost revenue for the individual teams. That's not lost revenue for the NFL.
But you're thinking with players coming back and the new deal that should be set in place for 2023, it should go sizably up.
So Craig says, if we don't get any wide receiver in free agency and get Bateman in the draft, do you think that will get over the hump? I don't know because I don't know that his impact is going to be that big right away. He can be a number 1, but he's got to come in and play like a number 2 first. You can't ask a rookie to come in and be your straight number 1. It very rarely, if ever, works. Just my opinion.
Yeah, I like Garnett's take. That's kind of one thing that's kind of been in my head, too. If you think back to when Atlanta traded way up into the top 10, whatever pick it was, when they went ahead and got Julio.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they had a number 1 in Roddy White. It's kind of like the same thing, even though it's, that's what they did with Julio Jones, and then it wasn't the sizable, but they picked Ridley when they didn't necessarily need him. So it's kind of like, is that one of those things where maybe you are leveraging for the near future to go get Chase,
AB and Juju in Pittsburgh, right? Yeah. Same situation right there, right? You already have a number 1, and Juju was expected. Juju still has a ceiling to be a number 1. It's just he hasn't been given the chance because of the offense up there. The defense won them those games last year. We all said that. So there's a lot of different things at play here. We could keep going on and on.
I was gonna say that one last thing. Matt Skura decided to sign a 1-year contract with the Dolphins, and as of right now, he's penciled in as their starting center.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good luck, Matt. I didn't think you would get a starting center job after last year. More power to you, man. Good luck with the Dolphins. Good luck, and we wish you well. Also, right up the road, Joe Flacco today.
Hey, still alive.
Joe Flacco's playing for them Eagles now. Yeah, I said Joe Flacco's playing for the Eagles.
Hey, they're going to make a Disney movie about him one day with the Eagles.
We'll see how that works out. They're saying he's expected to be the backup. We'll see how that works out for them. Take us into the social media shout out, Jamie.
All right. So we have our normals as always, but we're going to go down the list. We got Chuck, Garnett, Mr. Chandler, Christy, Sharon Sherry, Jonathan, Rich Lilly, Craig Zero, Kamal, George, Calvin, Rick, Nick, Lee, Andrew, Joe, Joshua, Jamal, and Trey. So the chat room's busy, and we'll just keep on feeding these questions if they all come up. So.
Any good comments that you saw come up, or anybody say anything that we didn't kind of cover?
Nah, it goes back and forth. Like, I think Garnett says we're not even like ready to.
We're not close
We're not
right
even
now.
close right
What?
now. And the thing is, everybody
A
sees
playoff team in the past 2 years is not close. Are you serious right now? Garnett, get the hell out of here, man. I wish Fred was here with his damn phone. I'd have you call in.
I'm sort of with him. Like, I feel like we're on like a seesaw right now. We can go either way. But like, if you look at the Green Bay Packers, you have Aaron Rodgers. You're always a contender somehow. Like, it doesn't matter what wide receiver or what's going on. They find a way to do something. With the Ravens, it's like either we need our defense to be good to, make a push.
That also comes down to scheming.
Yeah,
Yes.
I would like to see like our offense, transition. That'd be cool if we move up top 10 and pick a wide receiver. Just go out of our necessary blues that we don't do, and trade away next year's number one pick just to get our wide receiver that we want, or the best wide receiver. Try something different than we normally. Here we go. This is what the Ravens do, and this is, we will be in the playoff hunt for the most part, but like, it's got to change.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that have to change, and we'll see, and we'll talk about more next week. Obviously, when Fred and Ryan are back, get their opinions on some of these things, and also get their I think they're coming back next week. Kaylee never actually chimed back in. Jeez, Kaylee.
They'll be back. They'll be back.
We'll see, but we'll see whether they're back next week or the following week, and we'll get their opinions on this stuff and get you guys included here. All right, it's time for some Shell and Tell, and you and I are doing the Shell and Tell segment. This is weird. This is usually potty break time.
Normally it is, and I'm good. I'm good. And I can actually contribute to the basketball portion because I watched these games. I watched a lot of the March Madness this year. I mean, I do every year, but actually I didn't know if I would get a chance to this year. And I got to watch a lot of the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching. I feel like a little bit. I shouldn't say watching because it does. I just have it on in the background while I'm working, so it's not really like I'm watching it. I'm sitting there. It's more of listening or hearing what's going on. But obviously the Terps made it through the first round of the tourney. Hey,
that's still something to celebrate.
That's something to celebrate. They went in ranked number 10 in the East bracket, and UConn was 7. They beat the Huskies. It didn't look good at first because it started with Eric Ayala fouling within the first 30 seconds of the game. So,
and it's funny because from our text when I was like, the way you were texting, I'm like, oh man, I meant line at not Jimmy John's. Jersey Mike's getting food, and like Scott's giving a commentary in the game. Like, oh man, maybe when I get home, I'm gonna have to watch. And then like I get home and they start taking off.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So didn't really exactly start really well because the UConn had 2 missed free throws after that foul, and then 4 straight offensive boards for UConn.
A theme for the night,
right? And then they finally capped it by popping off a 3. Before the Terps even got possession. Yeah. Right. So it did not look good. Was not a good start. I'm gonna move your phone away from here because it's giving some feedback. But it wasn't a good start before they got possession error. They had some ups and downs. But 7:30 mark left in the first half, and that's kind of where the story of the tale went from there because they never lost the lead from that point forward.
And they were hitting threes.
Oh yeah,
there was that stretch they couldn't miss a basket.
God,
that's the kind of thing you need in the tournament, really.
Yeah, Eric Ayala, 23 points in this game. He was 8 for 14 from the field, 3 from 5 beyond the arc, 4 for 4 from the line, 5 rebounds. Not normal. Normally something you see. He was down there in the paint. He was getting the rebounds, and 3 steals out of him in this game. Right, so big numbers. Wiggins with 14, Scott with 12, Daryl Morcell with 7, but wind up fouling out with like 3 or 4 minutes left in the game.
It wasn't out of reach yet either.
Oh, it was a bullshit call as far as I was concerned.
No, I'm saying I think that was a bullshit, but I'm saying like it wasn't like they were pulling away from UConn. It was still kind of like
it was close enough,
still iffy. So it was a little bit. You see like your main defensive stud foul out. You're like, here comes the shoe job. But they didn't. They kept at it.
No, I mean they gave up 22 offensive rebounds, but they countered that with 25 defensive rebounds to 18. So, and the real big thing here. 50% from beyond the arc. You talked about them popping off threes as a team, over 50% from beyond the arc.
They live and die by the three.
It worked.
They lived in this game with the three.
It worked. It was nice to see, and the emotion and the happiness out of these guys, it was really great to see. And it means even more seeing that now after what happened against Alabama. Because, that Alabama game. It's a good start. It was 38-46 at the half.
Alabama might be legit.
Alabama
might be able to pull this whole
Alabama
thing
played against.
That's what they kind of showed me in that one.
I mean, Alabama made it look like Morcell was a non-factor. It felt like.
Yeah, and I don't even. I believe I'll disclaimer. I fell asleep at halftime.
You didn't miss much the second half.
Apparently, I'm glad I fell asleep, but. At least what I watched in the first half, it didn't seem like it wasn't like, they just weren't playing defense. Like they were in their face and they were hitting threes.
Yeah.
Or hitting long range shots. Like it didn't matter what you did. Like they just
Alabama just could not miss.
They could not miss.
That was the thing, right? So at the half, Terps were 16 of 32 from the field, 6 of 17 from beyond the arc, 10 rebounds at the half. Not a bad line. Until you look at the Tide line.
Yeah.
Because Bama had 17 for 33. Okay, so they had one more made, one more attempt. Not bad. 8 for 17. Same number of attempts, 2 more made from beyond the arc, which they were popping those threes off it was candy. Here's the kicker.
And this is what happened with UConn a little bit.
We saw it, right? This is what hurt. They were out-rebounded by double at the half. 20 rebounds for Bama at the half. And what I think I saw really in the second half was it looked like, and I know you fell asleep.
Yeah.
But it looked like they were playing tired defense. I don't know if you went back and watched some of it. Did you watch
really.
it?
I watched it, but I just want to say I think our main problem, and there's two things I want to say. First off, our starters played too many minutes. I think they played 39 minutes, which the other teams I think played like less than that, and the bench contribute to.
Yeah. The only guy off the bench that had more than 5 minutes was Jarius Hamilton, who played 25.
So the guys were probably like burned out, and especially with Alabama, was just dropping them. They had to look like it was going in.
Yeah, and it was guys off the bench doing it too. To your point.
But also I personally didn't like what Turgeon said after the game, like his comments. And I think a lot of Terps fans took a thing like saying like, we didn't even belong here. Like, who says that? Like,
so I understand that, and it's just like I know what you're talking about. I know it's the comments, and I think he was just saying that like there were people that were saying they didn't belong there. He knew what he had to do with his team. Look, I mean, they didn't look well from the get-go. And I think Daryl Morcell, you saw out of him, I don't know if either of you saw the interview with him afterwards, but I think he was asked a question, what do you say to this team? How do you feel? And I thought his comments were really good.
This team, they fought. Everybody counted us out the whole year. We was 1-5, counted out. We was counted out before the year. But we was 1-5 in Big Ten, counted out. 4-9 in Big Ten, counted out. Lost our last 2 regular season games. Still counted us out. So I just told everybody how proud of them I was for never giving up. That showed a lot of character, and to just carry that same mindset in life. And words can't really explain it right now, but it was surreal.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the emotion, right? He was saying that they were counted out, right? And it's a lot of emotion for a guy who I believe Morcell is in his last year, right? Is he a senior this year?
So he's a senior, and the NCAA is allowing seniors to return for their for another year because of the COVID lost time situation. I don't know if he will or not. That hasn't really been decided. That's still up in the air. I mean, it all depends if you're getting offered. I mean, he's not going to play in the NBA probably, but
he might be able to get into the G League maybe.
But
as a defensive player,
playing overseas nowadays is not like a black cloud. Like it's not a bad thing anymore. Playing in some of these bigger leagues in the
here's the thing. Here's the thing I'll say about Daryl Morcell. Daryl Morcell is a hometown boy.
Well, and I get that, but it comes to a point where like if you're gonna help, if you think you're gonna help your stock or not. Returning for
and he
or you could go the opposite and then get hurt.
He could never play again. And I think Ryan would probably give us some good insight on that when he comes back next week because I think he's a guy that he plays with a lot of emotion. If you carried his defense into another year and you allow some of these guys to kind of go forward and progress and you bring in some of these guys that we're getting in the recruiting class for next year. Yeah, I mean this team's got high potential. The difference is this team was expected. I think that's where people are getting up in arms about Turge is that this team. None of us, including myself, thought this team was going to get this even into the second round of the tournament. Like at the beginning of the year, we'll probably see in the NIT guys. I don't know how this team's going to do. Then they started coming out and it started being like defensive. And even though they were getting beat by the top 25 teams, they were still keeping it close, like the Ohio State game, right? You kept it close against a top-tier team, which is why I think they got a 10 seed. I've heard arguments they could have technically been higher based on the games that they played, right? And the teams that they kept it close against versus getting blown out. So, look, I get it. Daryl Morcell, I think it just that emotion in that, I don't know if he's going to come back next year. I think that's a lot of emotion. He also was an emotional leader for that team. Yeah. We know that he played through the injury with the mask for a little bit too. Yeah. So a lot going on there, but I think overall, just the team in the second half, it was tired defense. They were still putting up shots. I mean, the final score wound up being 96-77, right? So they still put up almost 40 points in the second half.
Yeah.
Still pretty damn good.
Yeah, it just shadows in comparison to what Bama was doing.
But when you're shooting, when both teams are they shot 53% from the field. Bama shot 53. They shot 53.3. But the threes, to your point, Alabama killed us with the threes. We shot 37% from three, 10 for 27. They shot 48.5% from three, 16 for 30. That was huge.
And just Curry was playing.
Yeah, just to blow a little more smoke up Alabama's ass for a second. Against Iona, they attempted 16 from behind the arc. They made 16 in this game. So they were like, you know what? No, we live and die by the three. We're making up for that shit right here.
Yeah, no, it was rough. We'll talk when Ryan comes back. We'll talk about the new recruiting. How this impacts new recruiting going into next year. I think it does positively impact the fact that you went into the round of 32. You didn't get to the Sweet 16, which would have been freaking awesome. Would have been great for this team.
Yeah, it would have been cool.
But I think they need to be proud of where they got to in this tournament. And the teams that they went against, UConn is no joke, right? They previously have been not necessarily a powerhouse school, but they've always been a top school.
Yeah,
right?
They're still tops. Yeah,
and then to go against Alabama, who's not really, I don't want to say they've been a top school, but they have been occasionally in the mix, and they look like a top tier school this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that.
And also, we're complaining about we didn't have a bench, and we shouldn't be in there, but. Look at Kentucky and Duke. We expect them to be there, and they weren't there.
Yeah. Kentucky, Duke, UNC, Florida got taken out in the second round.
So I guess we can't be, that pissed off.
Yeah, we'll get back to more of the tournament too. It's been a crazy. It usually always is, but I think this one feels more like one of the crazier years.
Stay tuned in the rundown. Drew's going to get into the tournament, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I did want to take a second. I think we need to give the Terp women. The credit that they are due because they are on fire. They went in number 2 ranked in the tourney, right? They played yesterday and absolutely dominated number 15 Mount St. Mary's as they win
As well you should.
98-45. These girls are playing just as good as defense as the guys are, right? But no, the big stories in this game, Chloe Bibby with a double-double, 13 points, 11 rebounds. The other story of the game, Ashley Owusu. This girl is a freaking beast, right? She is right here. She is a beast, right? She put up 20 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. It's a damn good line. That's a damn good line for an NBA player, right? It's much less, the women's tournament, which we can talk about that for a quick second. All the stuff about the women's tournament. We all saw the piece with the weight room, right?
Yeah.
And then it blows up, and rightfully so. It was.
When doesn't the NCAA drop the ball?
Right.
Anything.
Well, did you see that people are now calling them out because they upgraded it, and they're like, look, we upgraded it. It's like, really? You trying to pat yourself on the back? No, we're gonna kick you in the ass again for patting yourself on the back.
You fucked up.
Fucked up. No, so and that's a horrible story, but especially for girls like this who are putting their heart and soul into this. Some of these girls may make it to the WNBA, which is clearly not going to be money like you would see in the NBA. But at the same time, these girls are doing well. Diamond Miller, another one, put up 19 in this game. And here's the kicker, right? James, you were talking about the boys with the bench. The girls with the bench, 29 points off the bench for this team.
Yeah.
Damn good.
They're starters for fresh still.
Exactly. I think when
they're probably like, well, we got a 25-point lead. Let's just
30-point lead.
Still something amazing.
We'll take another one out.
It's still amazing.
Yeah, but no, it just shows the depth on this team.
Yeah.
That they can come in and their number twos are putting up just as many points as their number ones.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it just goes to show the depth that they have. Shout out to them. I think they play tomorrow night, I believe it is. They play the second round tourney.
They play Alabama. I know that. It's next.
Alabama
it's
again?
tomorrow night, and it's Alabama.
It's Alabama again. So, again, heavy favorites in this game. They have just been dominant. There were questions as far as, should they have been being the Big Ten women's champion and dominating teams the way they should have. There's arguments they should have been number one. Number one, number two, hey, you got the lower seed. Yeah. You don't have to face the number one seed until you get to the dance.
Usually
you're down to the final four.
A lot less parity in the women's game tournament than the men's.
Yeah. So the other thing I do want to talk about with the football side of things, spring football starts next week for the Terps.
It's amazing that it's springtime.
Right. We are here. It is upon us. We are starting the process. They've got 15 practices and one spring game that's going to give the team. Obviously, you're not going to have a lot of the young guys that are still in high school. Your recruits that you're bringing in for the 2021 class. Not all those guys are really going to be there. I'm sure you'll have one or two that'll figure out a way to get there.
Yeah.
Skipping school to get there, but 15 practices, one spring game. It's going to give the fans and the organization a chance to see this year's team kind of early, or most of this year's team early. Apparently, athletic director Damon Evans was on the Fan this week, and this was his comments. So those 15 practices are going to give us an opportunity to get better and continue to grow this program. And I can't wait to see some of the young guys and see our quarterback and receivers and get out there and get after it and start going in the direction that we all know that football is headed. So I think he's very clear on the path that the fans want this. He also talked a little bit about the fans. They're going to have they got to wait to see if fans will be at the spring game. Yeah. If not, it sounds like there might be something where they're trying to get a local broadcast involved, which I think would be perfect. Why not?
It's still cool that they can do a spring game though. Without the fans there or not, just think of that. Who would have thought that 9 months ago, a year ago? Yeah, that you're doing a spring game and you're able to kind of have this much interaction with these guys. So, yeah, great story here, and I really think it ultimately comes down to this team. We're going to see what they're made of. We're going to see what these new recruits. Not necessarily we'll see some of them, but we're going to see the chemistry that's hopefully been developing throughout the offseason and some of the workouts these guys have been doing, and see the impact that we're gonna kind of see going forward.
All right, Drew, it is time for this week's Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. What are we drinking on this week?
We are drinking. The brew this week comes from Abita Brewing Company out of Louisiana. This is their limited series lager called PB and Jams. And I will say it grew on me a little bit, actually.
It's been growing on me.
The longer we drank it. First couple sips, it was like, I don't know.
8% ABV.
I think it's definitely a sipping beer, like you said.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
definitely a beer like you're not just let's hurry and get through this. Let's just enjoy it. I think it did. I didn't end up enjoying it. In their words, with aromas of flavors of strawberry and peanut butter, PB and Jams will immediately take you back to your childhood snack, the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It does. The flavors meld perfectly, resulting in a medium-bodied brew with a subtle sweetness. And
So-
it grew on me. It ended up being pretty
It's
good.
not quite like I compare it to like a stout or like a porter. It's got that
like
kind
a
of
sweet
thickness,
one.
but it's like a sweeter
It
one.
wasn't
Yeah,
an IPA, so
yeah, it's an IPA. But yeah, so I mean, not bad at all.
yeah, it grew on me.
James, you want to show everybody the other one that I got you that I got as well, and you were trying it over there. Tell us what you're drinking on over there.
Oh, I got this Angry Orchard peach mango. So I'm staying a little fruity tonight.
There you go. 5% ABV over there. It's not bad though, right?
It's good.
It's not overly sweet either. It's kind of has that tartness to it.
Nah, it's good for like on a nice little hot day out in the deck grilling.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can deal with this.
Now you're talking my words.
It's around the corner.
Except
Nah, I'm grilling this weekend.
I mean, I've already started.
chicken
he
wings.
also talked about the deck because it's his
got the
running
little
joke
deck.
that I got the little deck. I know that. All right, James, we're going away from you now, and make sure you guys stop 1510 Conowingo Road in Bel Air up at Liquor Stop. Tell Jerry and the team up there that Birdland BS sent you and get your 10% off. All right, it is time for some bros, bows, and O's as we reach closer and closer to opening
We're
day.
getting there. It's around the corner.
It's around the corner. It just feels different.
That you can actually say opening days in April. Holy shit.
Right? Well, let's start with the big news out of the front office today as Mike Elias made a video announcement on the Twitter page, on the Facebook page. Tell us about what they were announcing.
So the Orioles announced today that they're investing in a state-of-the-art training academy down in the Guerrero.
I think it's Guerra, Dominican Republic.
Tongue-tied. It's in the Dominican Republic. All right. So it's meant to mimic the facilities they have in Sarasota. It's artificial. They have an artificial turf agility field to get ready. That'll be ready sooner. The selling point is drawing in the international scouting, which we're happy that they're finally doing.
Yeah.
It also allows for a classroom setting for language and education, which is cool.
Yeah.
The 3D render, if you look it up, I mean, if you're friends with Scott,
you can't quite see it, but it's kind of
behind
back
the
there.
players. If you're friends with Scott on Facebook,
I posted it.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
It's another step in the good direction of getting into that international prospect field that they've already started, and it shows a commitment to it.
Right, and
it doesn't show, we're throwing money at guys you'll never see. Like, it's showing, we have a real, we're trying to do this thing.
Well, and the other side to it is it's also showing this team's not going anywhere. This team's not moving.
That too. I thought, yeah,
right.
That too.
This team is not going to be
They're
moving.
not going to Nashville.
Yeah, no. And the 3D renderings,
Whatever
right?
else.
It's not just it was set to mimic Ed Smith Stadium, right? So it's set to mimic that. And they actually have in the 3D rendering, it's actually pretty cool. It almost looked, at first I had to question it because the way that it looked like mini little apartments.
Yeah.
The way that it was set up and the way
Yeah.
they were spaced out, and everything. And I was like, and then they kind of talk about it, we're gonna have classrooms. It's like, oh, okay, so these are gonna be some of the classrooms. They're gonna work on language with these guys. They're gonna work on education, so American history, so they can eventually, if they want
Yeah.
to take U.S. citizenship test, they can. It'll allow them to learn English and be able to come over with maybe not needing as much of a translator. It'll also allow them to, really break down, sit down, and analyze video and film of themselves working out. These guys are going to be afforded all the things that all the major league players have in spring training, all the cameras, all this stuff. The facilities can be that three-piece facility. The turf field is like a running turf field, almost like a little football field.
All of it looks pretty cool.
It does.
All looks really cool.
It does.
You can be a
I gotta see if I
pessimist
can get
all
a
you.
job down there.
Yeah, right.
You can.
Are they putting in a piece of?
They might. You never know.
I'll feed them.
There you go.
But it goes to show you that like they made a commitment.
Yeah.
There's steps towards it. I remember like in a lot of what I was thinking about when I first saw this article and that you shared. I remember a time back when Andy McPhail was running things. You heard about Dominican camp.
Yeah.
You heard about Dominican camp. Like, what's that? Summer camp? Like, you know what I mean?
We went to the local Little League field. We held track.
Never really
That's
felt
what it was.
No, never really felt real. This feels,
I'm not kidding. That's what it was.
Yeah.
They held it at Little League fields.
This is the word professional.
Yeah.
This shows that you are trying something.
You're turning around the organization.
Like I said, you're not just throwing money at teenagers that you're never even going to hear from. Right. There's a good chance with what they're developing here, if it works out. I mean, if these players that they're signing work out, it shows that it's going to be you're going to have that influx of talent, that it's not just the draft. And it's not just, all right, is it going to be 5 years from now? No, their plan is to get there and stay there.
Right.
They're not. This is a real commitment.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see, this long term, how this plays out. I think it's going to be a great thing. I know that they're supposed to start they're going to break ground. I think in April is what they said.
Yeah, it should be ready by early next year.
And they said about a year from now it should be ready and set and ready to go. So a lot of these guys, these international guys that are 16, 17 that are signing, this is going to be ready for them next year to be able to start participating in. So really exciting there.
They can build all year round.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of commitment.
Speaking of commitments and speaking of good news.
I don't know. I don't any news that involves this guy is just zero news.
It's good news.
Chris
Davis hits the 60-day injured list.
The better news would have been they just cut his ass. That would have been the better news. I'm just saying.
We're another step in that direction.
Another step in that direction because this was last year. It's almost over.
What's the over-under on how many times he's on the injured list this year?
It's a weird thing that, they were talking about on the Fan this week and discussing it in the afternoon. It's like, I mean, how long can you keep him on the IL with, you have to have a legit injury. If a guy doesn't have a legit injury, he's going to come out and say it eventually. So it could be 60. I hope it's the whole year. Like, I don't know. I'm ready for the whole saga to be done with.
I mean, easy enough. You got to figure we're not going to see him till June.
Yeah.
If we see him.
Yeah.
Right? So, fine. That gives us another chance for some of these young guys, right? Like, look at Ryan Mountcastle. Ryan Mountcastle's looking good at the plate these past week, right? Especially home run the other day. Been hitting solid base hits. You think he makes? Do either of you think?
No,
makes it out of camp?
I think he's the starting left fielder.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's the starting left fielder because
you're going to put him in left over Santana in left.
I think. Okay, well, you have the added thing, like, there's not going to be a solid DH every game. So there's not one, like Chris Davis or somebody else. So you have that flexibility of putting Mountcastle in there on Monday, but you know what I mean? Like, you have that, and it could be a lot of it, too, is after a month or so in the season, you realize, all right, well, these three guys in outfield gel the most. Like, they've earned that spot. Okay.
I was figuring you could also put Ryan Mountcastle at first base and let
Trey have Trey DH, and yeah, that could happen
right.
Too.
Let him DH, let him ease back into play.
But I think you're at a point with Ryan where, like, okay, yes, obviously the word is, and it's clear, his bat's better than his fielding, and his fielding he's still working on. But at some point, like, I mean, he came up, he still holds his rookie designation. So, like, if whenever he starts, like, he's still a rookie, that's still a good thing. So, I mean, at some point with the guys like him, that's where I go with, like, guys like Diaz. Like, at some point, you're going to have to just make the club, and they're going to have a spot to play because what are you playing for? Yeah, you're playing to see what the guys you have now have.
The one thing I would say with as far as like Diaz, right, is that Diaz is if you're going to have Diaz be in there, then that means by definition, Austin Hayes has to be your right fielder because Austin Hayes in the spring has been playing. He's had a hot spring. I mean, as of today, he's 14 for 40 or 15 for 40, 3 doubles, 2 homers, 8 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 10 Ks. I'll take it with the rest of the production.
I mean, I don't think to go to Diaz. I think he starts in Norfolk. Okay. I threw another name out. Like, those are the two guys that to me, like, the
Well, I mean, you got DJ Stewart, you got Diaz.
Same with like Stewart. Like going to AAA, the only benefit is you get to play every day. But I think to me, Mountcastle has the leg up on Diaz, and then he has a leg up on Stewart because you've seen those flashes from Stewart. Yeah, but you've seen a lot of negative stuff with Stewart too, where his back stays cold.
Yeah.
Especially at the start of a season.
And he has some blunders in the outfield
That too. So
I mean, especially in left field. Yeah, I mean, Austin Hayes, I think him staying hot is a big thing. We saw, we heard, obviously, Mikal Franco, he comes in, he doubled in his debut on Sunday, looking good. I love this character. He's like, I don't know if you guys saw the pictures. If you haven't, go check out the Orioles Twitter page because the pictures they have of him of like just like the like looking chill, looking cool, he looks like he brings like a little bit of loose and fun.
For a while.
He looks like he's bringing a little bit of looseness to the clubhouse, which is good. And this team needs it, especially with a bunch of rookies. They need like some guy that's a little bit more of a veteran, been around a little bit long. I mean, he's not a over the age, over the hump type veteran.
Yeah, he's
but
still young. He shows to me a lot more than Rio Ruiz. I think you know what you've got out of Rio. I mean,
I could see them platooning him until he gets comfortable.
I could see that, and then it all depends on how fast Franco can get adjusted.
Yeah,
I mean, he's looking good so far. I mean, it's sample sizes and all that, but that's what spring is. It's sample size,
right?
At some point, you start playing real games. You got to field a big league club. You want the best players on the team.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that comes out this week is the no-brainer. John Means. Opening day starter.
Yeah, and he's looking damn good in the spring too.
He has looked good
because last year with that stop, and he had issues with his father, and a lot of off the field issues, and then kind of getting back from the injury. Was that?
He had a rough one today.
Did he?
Did he?
Then okay.
Well,
I've been busy today.
Either way, for the most part,
he's the opening day starter. It was a no-brainer.
For the most part, he still looks good. So he'll open up against Boston at Fenway. Was April 4th, right? So the other thing I kind of wanted to bring up, and I want to get your take on this because I felt like this would be a good discussion, especially since the three of us are. Fred's a huge Orioles fan. I know that Ryan could kind of care less at times, but
he's going to go to the games at least.
Yeah, right. If you can get tickets, which I think you're going to be able to. So opening day, season ticket holders got their chance. So what they kind of came out with was they're going to be sitting everybody in pods, right? Not like physical pods, but like three people grouped here.
Yeah.
3 people grouped there. Like you'll be grouped with your tickets. So if you have 3 tickets, you'll get 3 tickets, and then there won't be anybody around you. So, for example, if any of you are out, I would tell you to come visit me, but you're not going to be able to come visit me because they're not going to let you. I'll be in section 78. My normal section is 84. Yeah. So we didn't even get our normal seats, and our normal seats are also in the middle of the section. So I don't know how they're going to do this. I'm going to be really interested to see is the full 11,000 going to be in the lower seating bowl, or are they going to take this up into the the club level or the upper deck?
It's interesting because if you looked at a lot of during the NFL season, or a lot of the stadiums that did have fans, like it was all lower bowl for the most part.
For the most part, right? But you do have season ticket holders that are people that are in the upper deck, right? And so hear me out on this, right? If you are a season ticket holder and you have your season tickets for this year, right? And you're a 29 game plan holder in left field like I am, is it right that somebody that's an upper deck season ticket holder, same number of games, but at a much lower cost, is sitting in the same area? I get it's COVID.
I don't think they are.
I don't know, but I don't know until I get there. Because I don't know how these pods are going to work. 11,000 people. We've seen, let's put it this way. We've seen 7,000 people in the lower seating bowl and been like, oh, damn, this is dead.
Also, Tuesday night against the Royals.
Right, exactly. But that's my point, right?
Yeah.
Another 3,000 people? Are we really going to notice? I don't think so. I think you're going to see. I don't, unless they're really spreading people far apart. I know that our seats are like 1 to 3 or something like that, right? Maybe they're probably going to put people at the other end of our section. I doubt they're going to put anybody in the middle.
No.
Yeah.
Unless here's the way that you could work that, because you're not going to sit somebody directly in front of us, right? If I'm on the end, you're not going to sit somebody directly in front of me. You may sit somebody in that seat directly in front of that, but if you're going to give a 6 foot, you're going to give 2 rows and then a seat.
Well, outside you only need 3 feet. It said.
Is it now? Okay, so let's say they skip a row. Why would it not make sense for them to then in that row that skipped put somebody in the middle?
Yeah.
I know they have to walk past somebody either way, but there's ways that you could do it and make it work. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this works, right? So the pods are going to be interesting. There's going to be 4 total entrances you're going to be allowed to go through. A, C, H are guaranteed. One thing said G, one thing said F, so I put G and F on here. So it's going to be one of the two, right? They're right next to each other. Here's the kicker with all this. Parking lots are going to open 60 minutes prior to game time. But yet so are the gates. So what do you think is going to happen when the gates open?
There's going to be a crowd trying to get in.
There's going to be a crowd trying to park and then a crowd trying to get in, right? So you're creating lines. I get it. You don't want people standing around and waiting. The other side of this is there's going to be no autographs, no bags allowed in. In what's like they said, diaper bags and like little 5x7 clutch purses is all that's going to be allowed in. So I can't bring in a bag to put my glove in.
Yeah.
Right. I can't bring in like I guess I can argue for my 5-year-old. I'm bringing a change of clothes in case he spills the food on him. Right.
Like kid pees himself a lot. Give me a break.
Right. Exactly.
I think you can get the glove in.
Yeah. Well, you can take a glove in, but you can't put it in a bag. You can't bring it in a bag.
Okay.
So hear me out, right? No food or outside drink either, right? Or beverage. And I get it's there. The ballpark's going to be cashless. So there's going to be no vendors walking around. You have to go up to the concession stand to get your food.
I never have cash on me anyway.
I don't eat. I do when I go to the game. I do.
I get your point though. I mean, if you're at the seat and you have yeah.
I do.
I
just carry my cash because what I bring is when it's spent, it's done.
Yeah. Well, and I get that. And there's people that work like that, right? But the ballpark's gonna be cashless.
Can't give a tip.
Right. You can't tip your. You're not gonna have your beer vendor that you're gonna be able to tip, right?
Beer man.
Consumption of food and beverage is only permitted in your assigned seats. You cannot eat on the concourse. All I can see is some like a-hole usher, because out there in the outfield sometimes they are, that's gonna watch you eating your hot dog as you're walking through the concourse. No, put your mask on. You eat that in your goddamn seat. Damn it.
It's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be bad.
I don't think it's gonna be enjoyable.
Well, and so I'm glad you said that, James, because that's my point. I think after the first few weeks, I'm gonna say this now. I think the Orioles will be lucky to have 4,000 to 5,000 fans every game on like a Saturday. I truly do. You're putting all the rules and restrictions, and yes, I get people want to go out. That's the one factor that I'm like hesitant on. People want to get out. People want to go to games, but you can't bring in food or beverage. I get that, but you're not dropping concession prices.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, it's something I didn't really think about. Yeah, if you're not being able to bring stuff in, that really does. Yeah, it's the stuff I didn't factor in with the fans. I always just felt you're not gonna have 11,000 every single night, but I figured it would be on the high end because people are so happy to get out, so happy we're kind of coming out of the window.
I hope.
But now you're saying like no.
Hey Scott, I wish they would have done it. If you're like a full-time season ticket owner or whatever, they would be like, you have a food voucher covering this much a game.
Well, especially considering, like I said, my seats for opening day, this will be the first year I have never at Camden Yards that I have not sat in my seats for opening day. Right, the seats that my dad and I pay for to sit in.
Yeah.
If I wanted to sit in section 78, I would have chosen seats in section 78, and I get that's the case. If that's the case, go by whoever's doing it. If God forbid, if I find out, or my dad finds out, my dad will flip a lid. If he finds out that somebody that was a 5-game flex plan holder got our seats for opening day, or gets our seats for any of the games that we're going to this year. How is that right? Right? And then the whole piece, like I said, I don't know how they're going to work it, but I know for damn sure I can put 11,000. I can put 11,000 fans in lower seating bowl and make it look empty.
Yeah, you're going to see some people. It's going to come out about I was cheated. I was robbed on my seats. This person's sitting here. I was asked to do this. I just can't wait. And I'm hoping that I am there as a vineyard, but I don't know yet. But just to see it all go down. So
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Look, I love the Orioles, but I don't know, man.
Can we still just be happy that we're allowed to go?
I
know what you're saying. No,
we all can't go, Drew.
I feel you.
When I'm
I
there-
don't know when I'm going to be able to get a chance to go. So
When I'm there, when I'm there, am I gonna be happy to be seeing baseball? Yes, but I'm the exception, not the rule.
yeah, I know.
Right? And we keep talking about that. You're taking away cash. People think about the beer vendors, they're getting cash. Now you're putting all those beer vendors out of it. And I get you're doing COVID protocols, you're doing distancing. I get it all. I get exactly what you're doing. But it's, to James's point, it is going to come out, right? There are 29 game plan holders at different tiers. I don't care what tier you're on. The last 2 tiers for 29 game plan holders have only come out in the past 2 years. My dad and I have been 29 game season plan holders since Stadium opened in 92. I'm not saying this is where I think the Orioles should work like the Ravens and have PSLs.
Yeah.
I should be able to partially own my seats for the games that I'm going to. If they're available, I get them. Period. Meaning if it's one of my games that you hand me, I should have those seats. This is like the playoff bullshit, right? We invested all the money for all those years. I should say my dad did. Invested all his money for all those years. We make it to the playoffs. It's stuck behind the goddamn foul pole. Now, granted, it was great. I was there. I was happy to be there. Delman Young hit the double right down near me.
Yeah, you were at the game, and I was at Buffalo Wild Wings. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
But
yeah,
you
I
get
know.
my point,
I
like-
know. No, I know exactly what. I know exactly what you're saying.
there are people, there are fans, and there's a lot of fans out there that have invested in this team over the years, right? And Chuck says they need to open early and stagger arrivals. The whole thing is they don't. You will not be able to see any batting practice either.
I
right?
think the thing.
And so there's going to be a mad rush for all the balls that are in the stands, right?
Yes.
Are you going to be allowed to go in an area that's not your seating area?
I'm sure they got ushers out there the whole time for batting cages. Some kind of worker out there going and getting balls during the whole.
Yeah,
I know what you
know.
mean. No, I know what you're saying. The definition of.
Are you gonna have players throwing balls up in the stands to fans?
Probably not.
Nah.
So now think about this, right? The additional impact. What does that do for a kid? My son loves going to the game. He doesn't need to get a ball every time, but does he like getting them? Yeah, he does. Kids live for that kind of stuff. The recognition, I got a ball from a Major League Baseball player.
Yeah.
Think about all of us. All of us probably remember one of the first few balls that we ever got.
Yeah, I paid for it.
That you ever were tossed to a player.
Never.
I got mine from Cal.
I would never toss the ball. I had to. The only way I got one, I was there with a hot chick that they threw it to her.
Okay.
You pulled out hot chicks?
You remembered it.
Yeah, that's the only way I got it. But the rest of them I had to freaking buy.
All right.
No, I know your
either way,
point.
you
I
get my
know
point.
your point.
You at least get my point, though, right?
Yeah, but now that I have my son, it's an easy ball right there. It's an easy ball.
right. And you're right, but it's.
I haven't had a
it's-
chance to utilize the Twins for that yet.
But to me, like I've done that for Wyatt. I've held him up and handed it to him. Every baseball that has been thrown for him, he has in his room right now. Every baseball, every single one of them.
He's got no room then.
Santander was throwing him a lot 2 years ago. I will say that. But no, like that's the thing is it's just you see now what I'm talking about with like the overall impact. It's going to diminish that time at the yard, right? What's the big thing they pushed 2 years ago? The kids' corner, all the kids' stuff.
That's close.
Right. The kids' corner is going to it better be completely closed
It
if you're
is.
going to do everything else,
No,
right?
It is. It's going to be.
Are they
there's
still
Well, that's the funny
doing-
thing is when you look at the page for the health and safety standards, it says nothing about the kids area being closed.
It's definitely going to be.
It
closed.
needs to be, but my whole point is now everything that you were doing to bring people to the ballpark, you can't do. So okay, here's my next question: you're going to be able to go to Dempsey's? You gonna be able to go into Dempsey's and sit down and eat?
Yeah, they'll be spread out. It probably won't be as much as you can.
But there's specifically on the website it says the only place you're going to be allowed to consume food inside the
at
ballpark.
game, but I'm talking about.
They're going to treat it like any restaurant
Yeah.
it does in the city.
I'm just wondering if they're going to even have the restaurant open.
Yeah, they will. They will.
That's an ugly sign on that damn
I mean, you'll-
house anyways.
So So I got a question for you, Scott. Do you think so that means 11,000 people could possibly park in the stadium parking? So
Between the two lots, yeah.
yeah. So do you still have to have a season ticket to park there, or they're going to try to make money and let people?
Oh, they're making money. They've already. If you see it, it's on their website. Parking is suggested. We'll be accepting massive Visa card, like all that stuff.
So the parking garages around are going to get screwed out of it.
Right. So now you're hurting the community.
Yep.
Yeah. Look.
But I think opening day is probably going to have more than 11,000 outside.
We'll see.
I really do think it is. Pickles and all of them are going to be packed, I think.
You're gonna have a lot of people walking the street because I think pickles and sliders and all them, they'll do their own individuals so they can get counts. They may do one big one and then just allow it. It depends on how they want to do it. I mean, it's tough to say. There may be tables in certain areas, but pickles will be packed as they can get it, or they're allowed to have it.
I think it's gonna be ugly.
I think you're going to get some overflow to some of the other bars, like the Hampton Inn that's right there that they always do something for opening day too. It's going to be damn interesting for sure.
I would like to go down there just to see, like, when you normally at like a Pickles or you talk about the hotel where like before, let's say a drink was like $3, now it's like $12. Like,
yeah. I mean, I will say the one thing I am thinking about is since it is a little bit lighter in the stadium this year, like my dad and I are contemplating is this year that Wyatt gets to go to his first opening day, just because it's easier when there's less people around. He's less intimidated. It's less of a crowd. You guys know he's shy, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it a little bit easier for him. He can ease into it and have his first opening day be that.
But it's not gonna be enjoyable. Like, you're gonna remember it, but it's just like it was COVID. I got to go, but.
But is he really going to remember that it was COVID and that was the case? I don't think so.
No, but when
it's
he gets
still
older,
cool for you, though.
Right, it's cool for me to
you.
take him to his first opening day. Is it going to be the same? Hell no. It would not be the same as
it's
if
gonna
it
be enjoyable. He's gonna have to wear a mask and all that crap. And
he wears a mask when we went to Florida.
I know that, but I'm just saying, as a kid, my kids don't even enjoy wearing the goddamn things.
Oh, I don't know. My kids have done pretty good with it. So year.
My kid, we're at Home Depot yesterday. He's ripping a hole through the mask.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
doesn't shock me.
All right. Well, we'll get everybody's thoughts on this as we get a little bit closer. Get the guys' thoughts next week, and hopefully we get some more clarification. Obviously, they just kind of announced everything in the past week. They told the season ticket holders
tweak it a little bit too.
Yeah, they told the season ticket holders that they were going to be doing the pods, and there would be some restrictions, and then it kind of got released to the public this past week. So we'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. All right, it is time for this week's rundown. And Drew, since the hot topic is March Madness, let's let you start this. What do you got on March Madness?
Ooh, it's March Madness. Ooh, yeah. It's been a great tournament this year. You have a lot of a couple of upsets here and there, but this has been a real interesting because you don't have. There's, like you said, there's a couple of teams that aren't in it every year that you normally have. So maybe a couple other teams got in that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Oral Roberts had the big upset, and they kept going.
Yeah,
they took care of them in the first round. They took care of. Why am I drawing a blank? Who they beat? I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on who they beat. Ohio State.
Ohio State. Yeah.
Sorry, they beat Ohio State.
They beat the Ohio State.
They decided to keep on winning and make it to the Sweet 16. North Texas and Abilene Christian had big upsets in the first round.
Yeah.
A lot going in the tournament was made about Big Ten sending in 9 being the big major conference, and now it's only 1. That's Michigan. And hopefully Juwan Howard doesn't try to fight another coach.
Yeah, right.
We'll see if that happens. One thing that stands out to me that I've been thinking about was, if you remember from a few years ago, Loyola Chicago had the Cinderella run.
Sister Jean
and all that stuff. They made the Final Four. It's still pretty cool. It looks like whatever they did those few years ago is kind of like the same scheme. Are they a little bit underseeded though? Because they finished off number 17 in the final AP. A lot of teams that they were ranked around are in that top 4 seed line. So, being that seed, calling it an upset, yeah, it's still an upset. beating a number one. Like, it's still an upset, but it feels a little underseeded.
Yeah, I mean, they're becoming one of those teams that they're
Like-
in the tournament every year. They're
like-
competing every year.
Like Butler was doing before the coach moved on to the NBA.
Right. And I think, look, BYU was that way for a while.
Yeah.
Right. And then they went off, and then they've been kind of back here recently. Loyola Chicago, there's just something about this. I think it's, there's a draw. Anytime you get upsets like that, there's a draw. But when you start getting into the tournament, at least every other year, if not more than that, you start drawing some recruits' attention.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
it
I can
carries
go here.
weight going. Yeah. Their name carries weight now.
Yeah, I can go here. I can go here and make an impact and be an impact player. And Loyola Chicago is, I think, one of those. Do I think they were underseeded? Yes, I do think they were underseeded based on
I'm
how
not
they
saying
played.
they should have been like a 4 seed.
No,
like
but they should have been. They should have been
6.
like a 6 or a 7. I think. Yeah.
Maybe could have shaken out a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, speaking of those lower teams, only 7 teams remain on that top 4 seeded line. So that's saying something, because a lot of those years,
half of the Sweet 16, more than half of the Sweet 16
are Cinderellas
are
later or double seeds.
Right, are higher than the four.
Because even like at
higher
UCLA,
4
they're from a power conference, but they were 11. They had to play in.
Right.
Which is another thing I didn't even write down. It seems like I remember when they first implemented the play-in games. I'm like, what? Why don't you just make it so all the 16? Thank you, UMBC. 16s never win. They never win. They never beat the 1 seed. I always thought, that'd be pretty cool. They just make it that.
Right.
But it almost seems like every year there's one of these 11s or one of these 12s that play in. They end up making it to the Sweet 16. It seems like it's almost every year that since they've implemented it. So there's something to say. Like
there shouldn't, as far as I'm concerned, there should never be a playing game for. A 15 seed is like kind of pushing it. But there should never be a play-in game for a 14 seed or lower ever.
Yeah,
Ever. If that's the case, then why are they seated? Put them in a different bracket. I don't care. Like, that's the one thing I do hate.
I guess it adds a spice to it too. Like I said, like I just said, like those teams have played in and then they've moved on a couple rounds.
Maybe because they were.
Maybe it creates more parity though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they were underseeded.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe they should have been a higher seeded team. Right. And maybe if things would have shaken up a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say. So
those of you who did join our little bracket league, I think it was 25 of us all together.
Just a brag. Dan.
Yes, I did. I'm gonna add to. We're gonna get there. But thanks everybody for joining. Whoever wins, good luck. We'll see. But in our sphere, the max points left in a bracket, Scott sits at 600, the lowest in the whole league.
Fucking Illini went out for Ryan and I.
Ryan sits at 750. Fred sits at 1100 max. James is at 1380, and I am at 1390. Go Zags. I just want to see Gonzaga finally win like a national title because they're always kind of around it. There might not always be a 1 seed every year, but they're usually a 2 or a 1. So I'm pulling for the Zags just in general, but everyone who did join the league, I think it was pretty cool. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. James, what is your rundown topic this week?
I guess baseball players don't get paid that well. My guy, my rundown is so I found out his name is Jesus Camaro Corrales. Got caught with 21 pounds of meth.
In case you're wondering what that
Not
looks
2
like,
pounds.
look above my head.
Not 2 pounds.
21 pounds of meth, and then he also had 1.2 pounds of oxycodone pills. It was in his Chicago Cubs duffel bag. So he was in Colorado driving, and I'm sorry. He was in Colorado, but he was in Arizona. He was driving, but apparently he got pulled over, and when he got pulled over, they brought the canine dog, and the dog smelled something. So he is being held with $75,000 bond, and he talked to some people, I guess, just so he would, not spend too much time in jail. But he was driving his silver BMW.
Got that with a signing bonus.
Yeah.
That wasn't enough, but it was enough to buy the BMW.
But
And the meth.
apparently, he talked to police and said a friend told him to drive it across for him and offer him $500 to deliver the duffel bag to Denver, Colorado.
Meanwhile, you are trying to play for $1 million contract in the MLB.
He's expected to
my
be
God.
back in court March 30th.
Wow.
All right, well, he ain't making a big league club. We
Just
know that
wow.
now.
No, he's done. He might be done for his career. That might end him right
Like,
there.
who thinks you're going to be able to have 21 pounds of meth? And I'm not. I
personal
have never
use.
tried it, whatever. But they say it's pretty strong shit. Like the smell of it is not like a peeling smell at all. So like, you gotta be like 80.
There's a reason hillbillies make meth in the backwoods in a trailer and they got masks on.
Or chemistry teachers.
Or chemistry teachers, yes. Oh, man. All right. So, speaking of degenerates,
Can I just give the disclaimer now for a second?
for a second time,
Or
you want to give a disclaimer for a 2nd time?
Let's just ignore the argument that me and Scott have been having about this guy. I'm just saying it. Just saying it now. Let's just forget that argument. That's a different situation.
Wait. For those of you who don't know, it's the argument that I say
He's a backup.
You can see him on
Deshaun Watson, this guy here, he can't finish with the football, and he apparently can't finish with the ladies either.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
Because the man's chest deep in shit right now. Because as of Monday, technically I wrote this yesterday. As of today, there are now 16 pending civil lawsuits alleging inappropriate conduct and sexual assault. The first few, it was like, there's something seemed fishy here.
Just
Apparently,
felt
there's up
bizarre.
to 22 women, and they've got 16 civil lawsuits filed. One lawsuit filed yesterday alleges Watson assaulted a massage therapist in March 2021 by touching her with his penis and exposing himself. Many more of these allegations sound just like this. On Friday, Busby said that the first time he spoke to Watson's representatives about one of the sexual assault allegations was actually back in February. So you're telling me he talked to his representatives, whoever that may have been, in February. And in early March 2021, he goes and does it again.
Yeah.
Allegedly. We'll say
Yeah.
allegedly,
Still
right?
allegedly.
It's still allegedly. But not looking too good for Deshaun Watson to not be on somebody's practice squad at some point if he wants to come back to the NFL.
It's the NFL. Anything can happen.
It is the NFL. Anything can happen. But here's the deal. You do that, you got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah, it's
When you blackballed
Yeah.
Ray Rice, Antonio Brown had the one assault and the one sexual assault, and somewhat blackballed him, suspended him for a while.
He still made the Super Bowl.
Still made the Super Bowl, but he didn't have 16
Yeah.
civil allegations. And the lawyer said yesterday or today that he's pushing the state's attorney for Texas and the Houston area. He is pushing for them to actually look to have a grand jury trial, which means everything goes behind doors. Everything is hush hush. But at that point, now that allows criminal charges to be brought up against him. If there's enough to warrant that, if you're a state's attorney,
He's not going to be playing for a while, or if anything, because they even released the kicker for the Giants for domestic violence.
He also only got 1 game suspension at the time, too.
yeah.
But this is still such a can of worms that we still have to
there's
wait
so many
and
details.
see. Because you've never had something like this. If everything is only, I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt, but if everything is only up and up, and if you're saying it's 16, 22 exact women that he did this to, until everything really comes out, it's still such a can of worms you've never seen that goes beyond NFL. That goes to what you think of with Cosby, and the Weinsteins of the world, and all that kind of stuff.
So here's the deal, right? I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to give Twitter credit. He will be a starter because Robert Kraft will call him up and go, "You like massage parlors too? Come on up here. Let's go together."
It's the sad reality of if you can perform, almost anything can go overlooked. Like I said, we've never seen something like this attempt to be overlooked.
Well, I'm going to say, like what Scott said, he can't compete on the field and off the field, apparently.
Anyway,
Not doing
yes, but I said that as joking because I told him he was gonna.
In seriousness,
these are serious allegations.
You don't want it to be true, it's a weird thing to hear from a player that you've never heard anything from. I'm not, and again, it's not a benefit of the doubt type thing. Like I could be saying, like if something came out about someone that I haven't been defending, like it's a weird. It's so.
If this were
still so bizarre to hear how.
Let me ask you
deep
this:
this goes.
If this were 3 allegations over the course of a week,
it still would have been weird to me.
Would you feel as weird about it as the 16 allegations now?
No, because that. Well, yes,
I was gonna say, yeah, you might be like, we've all agreed when it was 2 or 3, it was like, okay, is there something going on? And then obviously James also was talking to us beforehand that like one of the people was blackmailing him, right, trying to get money out of him. So it was like, okay, there's more to that story. But fact
that's not one person blackmailing and then but then there's 3 others that didn't try to blackmail him.
Right. This is one person tried to blackmail and 14 or 15 others did not. And the other side to it too is, he also is coming back and saying that, I treat women well, Well, apparently with one of them, he also reached out via Instagram to one of them acting like nothing had happened.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's a lot of details that are slowly coming out. It's going to be a while.
Yeah. That's how a lot of, but even lesser things are with NFL players.
I was going to say, but the NFL needs to look at this. AB was suspended before there was any like court allegation or anything, right? Before it actually went to civil suit. You're setting that precedent with him. I don't know how you don't bring a penalty down on this. Even if it's a 5-game suspension or something, I don't know how you get all around this without the NFL doing something.
Yeah.
Even if it comes out and he says, to your point earlier, what if he settles?
Yeah, it's still the public opinion is still negative, and it's still
admission of guilt. The public opinion,
it's still admission of guilt.
Right, and it may not be he's not saying I'm guilty, but if you settle, it's just like I'm settling out of court to get rid of this.
Yeah.
Well, wait, the public starts to go,
getting rid of something.
Wait a second, why are you getting rid of it?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the weird thing. That's when when that happens, when it's 1 or 2 women, like one woman, like not benefit of the doubt, but like you kind of forget about it. Like it's just so staggering.
You shouldn't though.
You shouldn't though, but it happens.
It does happen. It shouldn't happen. Yeah,
but with this,
I wanted to make that part clear. Yeah. You're not saying that. You're just saying like people tend to kind of say, okay, unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. That there are people that do things and make these allegations for profit and not for the right reasons.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that just because someone's doing it that they're doing it for that reason. So you kind of have to give the benefit of doubt to both sides, and that's what's hard. And that's where I think the NFL is going to be at a piece here because it's not just 1 allegation. It's not just 2. It's not just 3. This is the last allegation. I didn't put this in, but I saw this right before we went on. The last allegation, do you know what term they used? Serial offender.
Yeah, that's what she called him. Yeah, serial predator.
Right? I mean, that's a word that carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
A lot of weight. It's going to be real interesting to see how this works out for him. I know we've gone long on this, but I just felt it was a topic that was there, especially.
And I do feel the need to we're not like
not
we are in no way condoning anything. I'm in no way it's still such a bizarre thing to me that.
Perception is reality. If they think he did it, he did it, in my opinion.
If any player that has never had looked any kind of negativity whatsoever, when something like that comes at me, it really shocks the shit out of you, and it has been shocking this whole time.
Yeah. So, all right, we'll see what happens. Let's jump straight into the 2-minute warning.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, guys, it is time for the 2-minute warning. I briefly saw what these were. You just looked at them,
I literally just looked at it in that break.
So, James, you will have to fill us in on this with this 2-minute warning. So give us the questions. I'll hit the cameras. You give us the questions, and then you'll hit the timer there.
All right, so the first question is, what are you guys most looking forward in this year's 2021 NFL Draft? It could be anything.
I'm interested to see how they do it this year, considering everything was done virtual last year. I know that they're, the plans to do it in person this year. You're going to be able to, have the war rooms and things like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys adapt after last year and how many teams maybe actually kind of keep a similar setup to last year. I think you're going to see some teams, Ravens may be one of those, that actually keep that same similar setup.
Weirdly, I'm most looking forward to seeing what actually happens with all the quarterbacks, because like a few weeks ago, you might have your top 5 quarterbacks, let's just say, and it looked like, okay, well, that there'll be 3 in the top 5, and now it's almost looking like 6, like they might be in the top 5 of the top 7 picks might be quarterbacks, and you might have trades. So to me, that's the most interesting thing that's not Raven related. And go get Terrace Marshall.
All right, what do we got?
And the last one is, who is your guy that is going to be the big part of the Orioles team and the least one on the team?
I was going to say, I've already touting him enough. I think Ryan Mountcastle has earned a spot on this team. He showed a lot of flashes last year. I think he has a chance to show a big upside and continue it, and I think he's going to. And the player that, what was it?
Least.
Chris Davis, because fucking why not?
All right. For me, I look at this. I say biggest impact player. Look, he's looked good, and he continues to look good. I think it's Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
I think he plays a big one. If I'm giving you a secondary guy, it'd be Santander because he's playing for a contract this year. He won't be arbitrated again. So those are my 2 guys that are there. I'm right there with you for Davis. If I'm gonna give you somebody else. The biggest disappointment this year is going to be Felix Hernandez.
I don't think he's going to be. I think he's going to be non-factor. I don't think he's a disappointment. I don't think he really makes the club.
You don't think he makes? I think he's on the opening day roster.
Oh yeah,
he's on the opening day roster. I highly doubt that he doesn't make the opening day roster.
He's a plug guy.
IL.
Okay.
I don't know.
But he's the least. He's most biggest disappointment.
Hey, Harvey's
still.
Looking decent, they say. So he has a shot.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in with us and joining us. Obviously, this is not Fred. This is Drew, in case you didn't know. He's usually on the casting couch doing his job over there.
I think we should probably stop calling it a casting couch.
It's too fun. You just get upset because you're on it. You're not on it this week. You're in the big boy seat.
Yeah. This is good.
You're in the big boy seat.
I was
this
a lot
week.
less nervous this time around than a couple months ago.
You don't have to be.
I know, I guess.
Right? Look, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Ryan and Fred should be back next week as they come back from Florida.
Yeah, don't feel sorry for them.
Yeah, don't feel sorry for them at all. So make sure you guys obviously check out our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, check out all of our episodes. Get yourself some Birdland BS gear. Again, I'm the only fucking one wearing it.
I'm ready.
I'm sponsored by Adidas.
Stop giving out free sponsorships
Sorry.
during your...
Sorry.
I gotta rethink you being in the big boy chair. Visit bigplay.com and also visit us on Birdland Sports. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media pages at Birdland Birdland BS is how you find us. If I can talk. Jeez. At Birdland BS is how you find us. At Scott BLBS. At Drew27N. At what is yours? James Bond 007? Right? Or no.
2332.
2332. I always mix it up with what yours is. I feel like you need to have a 007 in there at this point.
Let's take it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Make sure you also check us out YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat. Like, follow, subscribe, and share while you're there. Be a part of the Birdland BS Nation. Audio version of the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, wherever you may listen. Go check it out. Thanks for tuning in as always. We'll be back next Tuesday night, 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. For Fred and Ryan, who aren't here, Drew over here, who did a great job filling in, James, who did a great job at the producer desk, and myself. We'll see you guys next week.
See you.
time for the after party.
It's the last call for alcohol.
It's weird. I don't like doing that. You're going to have to do the other one next time. I can't do that. All right, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in this week. Good show this week. You did a great job filling in.
Yep.
Didn't have to go to the bathroom.
Didn't have to go to the bathroom yet.
Nope, I'm feeling
You good? All right. No, but good show for both of you guys. Appreciate the input. James, any topics that were out there that people were bringing up or anything that anybody said?
No, it was just basically earlier about the Ravens stuff, about wide receivers and stuff. After that, it all went their own way.
Any topics that you guys want to kind of chat about for a few minutes in the after hours here? Or?
No, I just can't wait for baseball to just be back. Like, I'm a baseball guy. Whoa.
Apparently, I hit the wrong damn button.
Ew. I'm just a baseball guy in general. Like, I love my O's. I know what the outcome is, but I do enjoy going to the ballpark. I missed it all last year, being like stuck in the house. But I just can't wait to see it. So,
Drew, what do you think? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when I'll get a chance to really get myself out there just because of how life falls out. But I'm with you. Just the concept of being able to go to the ballpark again. Like, I get everything we talked about that segment with that is legit worries, but like just the fact that like you wouldn't have been able to say that not even a year ago, but like a year ago this time, like you ain't getting baseball. They stopped playing. There was no spring training games. You didn't know you didn't know how the world was going to go. And now you look at it now and whether what you want to believe in the vaccines or not, like you have vaccines for this shit. Like you would have thought that like not too long ago. So I'm with you. Like it's just cool to have the concept. Like, no, we're getting like the season starting when it was supposed to start. Like they have protocols on how to get this done. And Grant, they did a decent job with the COVID last year with the season. You only had two teams that got messed up
in
Miami.
Yeah.
So it's
Miami
like
started the season
you think that happened with only two teams last year when you were in the thick of it. Now that you know a whole lot better and you have more of a grasp on things and you're coming, there is a light at the end of the tunnel that you're going to have a good season. I think it'll be real interesting to watch the whole league, not even just the Orioles.
The only thing that I don't know if they made it official, but they were talking about making it even when COVID's over where they played the playoffs at different areas, not your home team. They have like a neutral spot. And I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing works.
I'm fine with it during the pandemic, but they even talked about that it was such a good idea to maybe do it like after everything's over.
I like the regular playoffs where it was before last year.
Yeah,
you keep opening it up to, and you're going to keep having teams that are 500 or worse that are making the playoffs still somehow.
I mean, if like you want to do,
still push that.
No. I'm talking about putting like an area that they played. So like if the Orioles were in the playoffs,
there'd be a bubble area.
No. I'm talking about like after COVID's over, where you like the Orioles would play. Let's say the Orioles are playing like New York, they would play like in Texas Stadium on a neutral field.
I get that for the World Series, maybe.
I like it where we could actually win, like because we have never seen it to actually win it and be there in our own stadium. I don't care if it's cold or not. Like I enjoyed it. Like
I playoff baseball. I think it should be played in the home stadiums. It plays such a factor when it comes to the World Series or the championship game. That's one where I think you could do that and you could argue that. And then all games are you could still do this team's the home team, this team's the away team. But it's there's not many other sports that hockey. Right, and I guess technically hockey and NBA is also the same way. So I don't know. I guess I don't hate the idea. I don't love it. But I'd have to like be there myself, I guess, to make a decision. I think there's too much on the line with it. But I get why you would do it because it would cut down costs for the team, cut down travel, increase revenue for if they split the revenue and it's a larger seating stadium. So like let's say it's an 80,000 seat stadium. They sell, close to 100,000 tickets because you're going to have standing room. I don't hate it. Split the revenue. We don't have to put ours out there.
Yeah, but if they have a bigger stadium, let's say Tampa Bay or the Orioles are there, they're probably gonna be more fans of the other team than.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I get both sides of it. I'm a traditionalist. I can't say one way or the other. Do I like the atmosphere in Baltimore during the playoffs? Hell yeah. Could I imagine it during the World Series? I don't know that I could because it was just crazy during the Delman Young series, right? In the series against Detroit.
Yeah, game 1 and game 2 was crazy enough.
Right.
Yeah,
I went to the championship game against the Royals, and I freaking loved it. We had Darius Webb behind us in the Miller Lite booth, so it was crazy.
Yeah, it's look, it was fun. I loved it. I just I get the appeal. I do get the appeal of having it at a central location. The players and the Players Association would go for it because it's less travel. The owners would go for it because it's less money they have to output for travel and hotels and all that stuff. I don't know. I get it. I get the argument. I'm just not sure. I'm not sold on it either. I'm not sold on it going away from the traditional side, but I see the argument is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, the one thing I did want to do, since I didn't get to do it last week, I know that Fred probably won't even get to see this, but I didn't get to do a shot with you guys. I was actually out at Topgolf when I was having you guys when I was watching the show. That's why I was like, I got on, I said it, and I had to go. I was with some people that I worked with. We were just trying to have a social
business.
it's so
socialization
elitist.
time.
I was at Topgolf.
Yeah, don't
So
worry.
hey,
I wrote it off as a business.
I was hitting
expense.
180-yard drives. I don't know what to tell
No,
you.
I couldn't. I had to pay for it out of my own pocket.
Okay.
But so, Fred, this is to you, buddy. Happy birthday. Hope you guys are enjoying Florida. Haven't seen too many pictures. You haven't been responding to text. I hope you both are alive and haven't.
We saw one like the story on Facebook. It was the train coming from.
And that was today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
It's all right.
Right.
When I go to Disney in a few weeks. I would be taking a lot. Even if I don't take them, I'll steal them from my wife because usually I don't take a lot of pictures.
Do you have a
either.
Birdland BS shirt?
I'll wear it.
Do you have one?
Wear it. Yeah. Remember, I wore it one week. My
Oh,
wife
that's
got
right,
it from
that's
me
right.
for Christmas.
Yeah. You gotta wear it Disney. Show
All
it.
right.
Send us a picture.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
Right in front of the castle.
We originally were gonna go. We still have the pictures that you sent us because you went to a few different away games wearing the Birdland BS shirt. We've got those. One of my favorite pictures that I love is the one of you. I think it's you, me, Brian. Is it you, me, Brian, and Fred? When we went to did Fred go? I can't remember if Fred went to that. We went to the Ironbirds game.
Yeah, Fred
and we got the bats.
Oh no, Fred was
Because that's the bat sitting right over there in the corner. But yeah, we got the broken bats, and we wound up getting what I thought was a really great picture of all three of us with the field behind us and the game going on. So it was actually a pretty
that was
cool
pretty
looking
cool.
shot.
No, I'm definitely gonna wear it down there.
All right, yeah. So send us a shot. We'll
Yeah.
have to. We talked about it at one point, and then we didn't get it set up on the page. So we need to set up on the page of pictures of fans in our gear. So we'll get that figured out, and then get everybody to send us any of their pictures that they've got. So. Cool. All right, we're going to get out of here for the evening, guys. We appreciate everybody tuning in each week, and we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
See ya.